Hello and welcome to the Ham Radio Guy podcast. I'm Marvin and my call sign is W0MET. Whether you're an experienced ham or just getting started, this podcast is for you. We're bringing you the latest of topics, news, and information, all things amateur radio. Each episode right here to this show. Subscribe where you get your podcast and stay tuned each week as we provide you content. Well, we are just a week away from Huntsville 2023, and we're looking forward to the time being there this year. As some of you may know, I'm the president of Winter Field Day, and the Winter Field Day Association is having their very first amateur radio hamfest table set up. So come by and grab some swag from us. We've got all kinds of goodies to give away this year, and looking forward to seeing everybody and hopefully getting a positive response in our booth for the first time. So please stop by and see us if you're going to be there at the Huntsville Hamfest in Alabama, August 19th and 20th. I'll also be walking around and doing some live interviews with various vendors on the podcast. So stay tuned to some of those live podcasts while at the Huntsville Hamfest, and we'll bring you some good content from that as well. Well, I bought my very first enclosed trailer, and that I'll be working on slowly over the next several months, kind of preparing that for Winter Field Day and getting that ready for some communications and some power, and kind of looking to do multi-service with that, but I will use it as communications in the end. And so I hope you'll embark with me on this journey as I begin to build out this trailer and outfit it and find the parts and everything I need to be able to do that. It's going to certainly come with challenges and lessons learned, determining the right equipment for it, etc., getting the proper layout, and certainly doing a drawing. Probably use a program like draw.io to help lay out what I need for each component, from fuses and just a distribution panel and my generator cord coming in and all those different things. So certainly hang with me through that as I begin that journey here. Probably sometime in September, October, we'll start to look at that. So just something to stay tuned with and to learn out some of those things, learn as we go along with some of those things. Well, the other thing is I'm creating an Amazon affiliate page. So some of those things I'll be getting from Amazon. Hopefully those are things that you will check out that as I bring that forward and share some of my favorite items that I'm using in my ham radio gear personally, and I outfit my bags and gear with some of the best products. I'm hoping that you'll be able to pick up on some of those, and I should have this out in the next week or two as well, and find those items that I'm using in my everyday gear, even things from the podcast all the way to what I use for a certain cable, maybe for a radio or something along those lines for other audio. Another project I'm working on that I was able to accomplish this past week, which I'm very happy about. I mentioned this a couple weeks, I think, in my last podcast, that I'm trying to convert all of my ham radio over to my Mac and use Mac and Apple MacBook and my Apple Mini computers as my primary sources of computers. And so that means I'm having to look at logging programs and things like that, and done a lot of research around some of this. And I was able to find one that I felt comfortable with. And I want to talk about this for a minute, as I was able to download the Mac Logger DX. Now, I say that they have some pretty responsive staff, as I had a message back from them in less than 12 hours after I'd sent them a help support ticket. And I was able to resolve my issue in getting the Yaesu FT891 connected to my laptop. My MacBook or iPad will now be my choice of computer for going out for field operations, for POTA, and that's what I'm going to be using instead of my Windows machine. Again, just even this past week, having to pull it up for a couple things. Windows had to go and do a bunch of updates, things like that, and it's just so annoying. So I'm still learning Mac Logger DX, but I think it has some pretty good features. Now, it was $95. I'll admit, it was a little on the steep side. I thought that was a little high for a program, but it's once and done. Ham Radio Deluxe is like $40-50 a year on, a 30% discount. You get it on renewal time. So I pay for that too. It's on my Windows program. I'm kind of hoping, it'll come to the Mac eventually, but they're about a year out or so. So your man here is just like, I can't wait any longer for that. So MacLogger DX does have interaction with WSJTX as well. And so it's got that going for it, and that's good. So I can do a little digital if I want. And, for those who are maybe looking at doing the same thing, or, have a Mac and just not sure how to make it work, feel free to reach out to me, comment, send me questions. W0MET@ARRL.net. Glad to help you out. I'm getting this figured out. I don't know it all. I don't have all the answers. I'm still trying to get there, but I'm done with Windows. I'm just, period. That's going to be the way it's going to be. So, I still got to figure out WinLink. It's for Linux. I'm using the Parallels program through my Mac, but I feel that this is the way to go. And I'll say I'll keep a Windows machine around for programming and a few things like that here and there, but it is certainly not going to be my primary machine by any means. So, that's all I got to say about that this week, and I'm done with Windows, and we're gonna move on. Enough with that one. I thought about doing a vendor highlight this week, and I was kind of like, well, who do I highlight, and what do I do for a vendor highlight this week? And I guess I would really, maybe kind of go back to what I was just talking about, is MacLogger DX. It seems to be a pretty good program, a decent response from their customer service. They have a whole crap load of radios they interact with. So I think if you got one, you can probably hook it up if you're a Mac person. So, all kinds of Yaesus, ICOMs. I think even a couple Kenwoods in there. So don't be afraid to try it. You get it. Here's my problem with MacLogger DX, and I'll tell you it's the good thing and the bad things. I'll be honest with it. I'm not always going to be a positive. These aren't sponsored vendor highlights. These are all in my own opinion, but something I want to be able to share with you guys and let you know what's good and what's bad out there, so you don't have to, bear some of those costs and burdens that I go through. And so, again, they're not sponsored. I can say what I want about them, and I'll, give my honest opinion. Again, it's kind of steep for that $95, but at the same time, I think it's missing a few things. I'd like to see a little bit quick here for having to hit logbook. It has a great DX spotting page on it. Again, it's got the WSJTX integration, but it's got a lot of different options for again, getting radios connected and stuff. It's pretty easy for the most part, but it was just that steep on the price. A little disappointed around that. But I think it's going to be a good program to use on the field. So, anyway, that's my vendor highlight. I will go over to our sponsors. We've got to appreciate them. They help us out in the show. They do a lot of our back-end work, keeping our webpage up and running and things like that. And our sponsor this week is Club Gear Online for all your POTA swag and ham radio gear, from the desktop mats to badges and keychains. Visit Club Gear Online. They have what you need. I'm sure you can find plenty of swag there. If you don't have it, he can customize it for you for custom chips, QSL cards, different mouse pads. Even if you want a coaster, you can do custom coasters. He did that one for a ham club back last Christmas. Just email him direct from the website or visit Club Gear Online. He's also on Etsy. He's got some products out there. He's still trying to build out some of those different products and add more to his stuff. He's got new T-shirts and stuff coming out as well. He'll be at the Huntsville Ham Fest. Visit clubgearonline.com for all your POTA and ham radio swag. He's continued to expand more on the ham radio side of not just POTA stuff as well. So there you go. If you'd like to help be able to support the channel and become a patron, look for me on buymeacoffee.com/the ham radio guy. Trying to continue to improve that page. There's 3 levels you can support me at. I'm still going to keep it some people have gone to one level. I'll keep it, variety out there for you for those technicians, generals, or extras. And hey, if you're a technician, you want to, get the extra goods and the time to be able to, bump up your questions to me or be able to see information a little bit sooner, you can certainly do that. Or if you want to stay at the technician level and just give me a little support and say, hey, thanks for supporting the channel. Enjoy listening to podcasts. You can do the technician level at just $1 a month, pretty cheap. So $12 a year. It helps support the channel. We've got costs from just doing, the different subscriptions that are required from Apple, the website, things like that. The program I use to record an audio. So those things, continued costs that go on that kind of pour out. So if you could help support that a little bit, I'd be greatly appreciated of that. And, support the channel at just $1 a month, or again, get the extra class memberships with more benefits. So it's there for you. And, I try and release some early content and hope that you'll be able to take advantage of some of those things along the way. Well, one thing we're going to get into is a little news here. Let's hear that. And for our news this week, the Hurricane WatchNet is looking for more operators. We go to Randy Sly, W4XJ, with more on this story.
As the Atlantic hurricane season enters its second month, Bobby Graves, KB5HAV, manager of the Hurricane WatchNet, is sending out a CQ for new net control operators. These operators are critical to the mission of providing ground truth weather reports for the National Hurricane Center in Miami. Bobby said he is especially looking for bilingual operators who are fluent in Spanish and English or French Creole and English, as many of the areas threatened by hurricanes speak those languages. Net control stations don't need to live in a hurricane-endangered area. In fact, given propagation and safety, it is beneficial to live farther away. Not everyone who applies is accepted. New net control stations must also serve a probationary period under the supervision of the net training officer to learn the HWN operating procedures, tune their operating skills, and help remove any undesirable operating practices. As Bobby told AR Newsline, the heritage of the Hurricane WatchNet is built upon service during extreme conditions. We are looking for men and women who can operate in a professional manner and accept the challenges emergency services personnel face every day, specifically with long hours and unpredictable schedules. Interested amateur radio operators can find out more at hwn.org.
And from the ARRL, the National Association for Amateur Radio, as part of its mission to protect amateur radio, has filed comments against the proposal that would introduce high-power digital communications to the shortwave spectrum in many instances that is immediately adjacent to the amateur HF bands. To find out more, go to arrlnews.org/news for more information. You can also find these links to all this news in my show notes that I will have on the webpage and on buymeacoffee.com each week. And our other last story of news for the week is due to changes at the ARRL, ARRL members will no longer receive a paper edition and now have digital access to 4 high-quality magazines: the QST, On the Air, QEX, and NCJ. If you have a question or a concern about how to get the most out of the digital editions and how to view the ARRL magazines digitally on the ARRL HQ YouTube channel, they can help you walk you through it. I believe Steve Goodgame's daughter did a video release around that. Jerica Goodgame, KI5HT8, and she explores the features of the digital presentation, including switching between magazines, saving to PDF, searching for content, bookmarkings, and zooming in to see content. It all covers the web browser version as well as the Android and iOS applications. If you download the ARRL magazine app for Android or iOS, ARRL will send you a notification to your device when a new edition is available for reading, and they're also available on Amazon Kindle. So a little about news this week on that, and my last 2 cents on that one is I'm a little disappointed that our dues are going up, and they have decided to eliminate some of the QST digital print. You can still get it if you want to pay $25. I'm not going to do that, but I mean, what do you think? I'm curious what my listeners are saying out there. We've seen the poll from ARRL, et cetera, but I'd really like to hear from you on this and what you think, your opinion is in regards to the QST magazine not being published anymore. Again, your boy here, a little disappointed. I like reading that paper copy, and it is what it is, but I'm not really willing to pay $25 more a year for it. Is it cheap? Yeah, it's pretty reasonable for $25. Other magazine subscriptions are probably cheaper than that, but I won't make that a whole segment. Again, that was just part of the news. Kind of throw my 2 cents in at the end of that. Kind of one of my stories that I kind of felt kind of got me this week a little bit. Well, let's really get to the nuts and bolts of our podcast, what we talk about, and what we really want to get into. Now, in this episode, I want to bring it back to basics again. And again, I'm calling this the episode Radio for Beginners. Continue to focus on technicians and getting more hams up to par after getting their license. And I've found this to be kind of being a technician a specialist for ARRL and being the club president and being a VE examiner. I've had a wide array of experience and just seen this in multiple layers where people get their license and just never kind of hear from them again. They just kind of go in the wind. So as a technician class amateur radio operator, you have an access to a wide array of frequencies and modes to explore and to communicate with fellow hams. It's an exciting journey filled with all kinds of opportunities to learn and, experiment, and you can build all kinds of connections across the board within the amateur radio community for, satellite communication or maybe through DMR, Yaesu system fusion. I mean, you can talk around the world still using those type of modes, those digital modes, and you don't have to just be on local repeaters with 2 meters and 440. So why don't more hams do this after getting their license? And that's a question I'm posing to you guys. I'd like to be able to know, and I think I may put something out on Twitter in regards to a poll, and I'm kind of curious to see some answers back on this. So follow my Twitter feed on this as well, and I think I'll put a question out around that, why hams just don't do more after they get their license. Now, as a technician class amateur radio operator, which I was for many years, I mean, I got stuck in that groove as well and missed out on a ton of opportunity, but, my life, career got in the way. I mean, it was what I, eat, slept, and breathed every day. And so, I didn't take advantage of some of those things. I don't think some of those things were even around, but if they were, I just wasn't brought to my attention. Now, you have access to a wide range of frequencies and modes to explore and communicate with fellow hams at a technician level that allows you to, again, literally talk around the world with some of this stuff. So why aren't we taking more advantage of it? If we don't use our bands, we're going to lose them. And I think, ARRL, tries to protect that, but we have to, safeguard against the FCC and other people who may creep in on the edges of those bands a little bit. So, they can monitor our repeaters and see how busy or they're not busy. And, it's like, well, we're going to take the edge of this band because it's not being used very much. Now, when you're starting out as a technician, it's essential to grasp the basics of amateur radio operations. And I talked about some etiquette and things like that and how to, understand, some of the concepts like frequency bands and repeaters and simplex operation. And again, I laid a pretty solid foundation for your radio activities in my last episode. And, these things are taught at a very basic foundation level, maybe in a technician class, and maybe they're, briefly discussed. But it really takes a mentor or Elmer to help figure out these things and walk you through some of these things. And you know, I'll get into talking about a club in a minute here, but you know, I didn't know myself sometimes how to program a radio when I first got started, and I luckily had someone out there to help me figure out some of these things. Or, you know, the other things that I've taken 20 years to learn, and I've probably learned more in the last 5 years after getting my general and extra than I did 18 years or more prior as a technician. And so what I've found in my experience is that one of the best ways to learn and get involved in amateur radio is to join a local club. Find a local organization where that's where it's really helped me out. And, I think if you talk to other amateurs, they're going to tell you the same thing, is you have to get involved a little bit and find those people that know what you're looking for answers. And, these groups, often host regular meetings and workshops and events where you can meet experienced operators and participate in on-the-air activities and just gain practical knowledge through, Project Saturdays. We do that in our own club all the time. Maybe they just have a training event of some sort. So, there's all kinds of knowledge just joining that local community. It's just, we really are a community of amateur radio operators that we have to join together to learn and continue to expand and operate what we do. And communication's our basis. And I think that's the foundation of life, is just being able to communicate, whether you're with a friend or you're in a marriage or whatever it might be. It's just, that is a key thing. And we have to be able to communicate with our fellow amateurs and talk to them as well and figure these things out. Now, there's other valuable resources for technician level hams as well. And that's the vast array of online communities and forums such as Discord, Slack, and, dedicated amateur radio, and even YouTube these days. There's a ton of stuff out there, and people making videos. I've got this same podcast on YouTube. These platforms provide a space for asking questions and getting into live chats and seeking advice and sharing experiences with fellow radio enthusiasts from around the world. And they have a ton of good information out there. I mean, I don't have to name them. You know who they are. You can find them. Now, as a technician, you have privileges on the VHF and UHF bands, which are, commonly used for local and regional communications. And in Tennessee here, I can talk across the state, whether you're in near Memphis or near, out past Knoxville and further, Maryville, Tennessee. I mean, it's just, we have the M-tier system, and it's a great, repeater system across the board. There's many other states that have some similar radio communication systems across the board that work out well, in the same way. So, explore your local area and again, talk to those groups. They might be able to tell you how those repeaters are linked. Make use of those repeaters. Those are stations that, receive and rebroadcast signals and extend your communication range. Did you know there, are programs like Radio Reference and Repeater Book online that can help you find repeaters along the way when you travel? And you can download and put this into an Excel CSV file and port that into a radio programming software. I've done that several times. It's great. I love how that works out. Maybe you're going on a vacation or a work trip somewhere, and you can download those files and kind of see what routes you're going to go on and find the repeaters nearby. It's awesome. Now, there's one radio out there that will beat it all and save yourself a ton of time, and that's RF Finder. Now, that's based off an LTE signal using an Android-based radio, but it does it for you. It's based off the cell signals where it's at. You'll come up with the local repeaters in the group, and it does DMR quite well. Now, it's quite expensive, but very nice. It's around $1,000. I think it's maybe $1,100. Sometimes you get the ham radio specials. There might be a little cheaper, $800, $900, $850, $900, somewhere in there. But, how many of you out there, I've got one buddy who has one. how many out there have this radio? Do you agree with the way this radio is going? Is this the future of communications? Is this, the way to go for getting your, mobile radio and not have to worry about a code plug? It might be. Now they've got some like little 7 or 10 watt mobiles you can put in your vehicle, kind of look like a tablet as well. Not quite impressed. I'd rather have my 50 watts and program it myself, but it might be a way to go if you want to touch, basically the local repeater and you're in good range. 10 watts may be all you need. Could you probably put a little small 2-meter amplifier on it? I'd say so. I haven't tried it. Don't know that for sure, but I wouldn't doubt you couldn't put a communication around that or an amplifier on that. What do you think about the RF Finder radio? Who else out there has it? Glad to hear from you. Send me an email, w0met@arrl.net, and see what you think. Let me know. Now, again, I kind of mentioned this earlier. Experimenting with different modes of communication is also a fantastic way to expand your horizon as a technician. You can try your FM voice, digital modes like D-Star, Wires X, DMR, mentioned some of those earlier, or even satellite communication. And that's pretty cool too. You can talk even more thousands of miles across on satellite communication. So you just got to know what the uplink and downlink to the ISS is, and those are easily found online. And so, each mode offers a unique experience and presents opportunities for learning and growth. And, I've got like 1 or 2 people in my local club that do satellite communications, and I've learned a lot from them. And, one of them was just a young ham with a technician. He moved up really quickly, got his general. But, I mean, he's taught others about it as well and got others interested. Now, don't forget about the importance of emergency communication preparedness along all this with being, a technician. You're not left out of that group either. So as an amateur radio operator, you have the ability to assist in times of crisis or natural disasters by providing reliable communications when other systems may be disrupted. So again, kind of back to joining some organizations. You have organizations like ARRL or RACES, the Amateur Radio Emergency Service, or Radio Amateur Civil Emergency Service, to further develop your emergency communication skills. And that's a whole different level. It's different than clubs. Now, I think ARRL has to be sponsored by a club, and RACES is sometimes more like emergency management. But nonetheless, it's good to be a part of those organizations and help out with that and be there for times of disaster. Now, the world of amateur radio obviously is constantly changing and ever evolving, and there's something new to always learn. And that's the great part of this hobby, something I kind of appreciate about that. And it's always, a new learning curve now. It can be frustrating at times, even for someone with an extra license. But, take advantage of those resources available to you. ARRL has some great books. You get some online tutorials, and you can even have podcasts like this one here, the Ham Radio Guy, where you can gain insights and practical tips from experienced operators. Remember, the journey in amateur radio is much more about connecting with people as it is about the technical aspects. Take the time to join a local net, participate in those contests, engage in those conversations with fellow hams, and most importantly, I think building relationships within the amateur radio community, which will help you in your experience and open doors to new opportunities when starting out. I don't know how much I can tell you that is so important in what you do. Well, that's all I've got to say for this week on this, and that's my 2 cents for this week. Hope that I could even take some of this even more and go even deeper dive, but I would love to hear more from you as you listen to this, and I want to know more what you want to talk about. Again, reach out to me at w0met@arrl.net, and I really hope to hear from you on some of this and what you think about this podcast. I want you to, give me some thoughts about this and how this works and what you think. Are these good topics and these good learning opportunities for, the beginnings and of a technician radio operator just getting their license? Looking for all things ham radio related? Visit the Ham Radio Guy website at thehamradioguy.com for informative content, product reviews, and exciting blog posts. Join the conversation on your favorite podcast platform or stay up to date with me on latest trends and news in the ham radio world. Connect with me on Twitter at The Ham Radio Guy. For even more updates and engaging interactions, don't miss out on the fun and knowledge sharing. Subscribe to the Ham Radio Guy podcast today. Well, that takes us over to our time of Ham Fest schedules. August 11th to the 13th, and that's happening this weekend here, was the ARRL Rocky Mountain Division Convention, Albuquerque, New Mexico. August 19th and 20th, we've talked about this a little bit with Huntsville Ham Fest, hosting the ARRL Alabama State Convention in Huntsville, Alabama. August 25th and 27th, the Northeast Ham Exposition, hosting the ARRL New England Division Convention in Marlborough, Massachusetts. And September 1st to the 3rd, the Shelby Ham Fest, hosting the ARRL North Carolina Section Convention in Shelby, North Carolina. And one of the ones that's getting to be more and more popular and well attended is the QSO Today Academy, September 9th and 10th, 2023. Buy your ticket online at QSO Today, and you can find a link to that right there in the show notes on how to get your ticket online for the QSO Today Academy. Well, if you'd like to help support the channel and become a patron, look for me on buymeacoffee.com/The Ham Radio Guy to join today. Please hit that subscribe button on Twitter and follow me as I provide the latest information for all my podcasts on Twitter immediately after publishing an episode so you can listen to it right away. If you're a Buy Me a Coffee subscriber, you get access to that early content. If you enjoy the podcast, we'd appreciate if you become a subscriber wherever you get your podcast. If you can rate and review the show, go out to Spotify and Apple Podcasts, or you can just go old school and tell your friends and family and neighbors. Hell, anybody you want might hear want to hear something like this and listen in. If you're on social media, be sure to follow us on Twitter or buymeacoffee.com, and you can listen to us on YouTube version on the W0 MET channel. Well, I hope that you learned something as well this week and that it will help you in your ham radio operations. If you have questions or comments, please leave them on Twitter, podcast platform, or email me at w0met@arrl.net. And you can always find a list of all the notes, the news, and links in the show notes listed on my website, thehamradioguy.com. Or you can visit me on buymeacoffee.com/The Ham Radio Guy. And also I'll have these posted on Twitter. Well, as always, this is your ham radio buddy in the chair and on the air. The Ham Radio Guy, I say 73. W0 MET.